the bass, and we're having a ball so far. You guys like what you're hearing so far? We're gonna just keep doing some stuff off the new record, which we have right here, along with some past records and some of Dennis's records, and t-shirts and whatever you need, folks. We got it set up at the mobile merchandise mart right here, and we'll step down a little bit to help you out. In turn, you can help us out. That's how it works, right? We're all together in this. We're all together in this, right? We're all together. Nice.
Hey, can you turn the harp up?
You can turn the harp up?
Yeah,
a little bit. All right, you hear that, Mr. Soundman? All right, he's got you covered, he said.
Yes, it's not.
Man, move your chair over here. We're on that side of the stage. Like, you're right in my line of fire, so you're probably getting a lot of me. But if you don't like hearing me, well...
All good.
No, I get it. He's really good. Dennis Gruenling, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, the next song that we're about to perform here on the brand new CD, this is a song called He Walked with Giants. And I will explain that to you. How many of we got real blues fans in the house? I'm talking about real deal blues fans. The people that know what they're talking about when they hear it. I was very fortunate as a young man when I was like 17, 18 years old, and I walked into a club one night. I've been this size since I was like 4, with this beard actually, so it wasn't hard. But I walked into a club when I was about 17, 18, and you know, I thought I was gonna, someone told me, oh, you gotta go check out this band. And I was like, okay, there's a cool band. And I walked in, and there was like 4 people there, and there was a upright piano on the floor in front of the bandstand, but the drummer had his drums set up on the bandstand, like at the edge of the stage. So it was just drums and piano, and I was like, what's this? And I was like, I was about to leave, and my buddy who was with me said, no, man, you gotta check this out. And needless to say, by the 3rd song, I was so mesmerized by this piano player and this drummer, and they were playing like, I didn't know, at the time, I didn't know who he was emulating or what. All I know was it was so powerful, right. And it was so like gut-wrenching at times and happy at times and just explosive and sad sometimes. I mean, I just sat like this the whole time, you know, watching. It was just piano and drums. And on the break, I came down and I introduced myself. I said, my name is Nick Moss, and I'm a bass player, because at the time I was playing bass. I said, man, I love what you're doing. I've never seen this before. I don't even know what it is, man. I know it's blues, but I don't know what I'm hearing. He says, oh, you're a bass player. He says, you got an upright? I said, as a matter of fact, I just bought one. He says, you want to play a gig with me next week? This guy, I just met him. He doesn't know me from Adam. And he says, you want to play a gig with me? After I just told him I just got the damn upright bass. And I was like, well, sure, I can do that. Because I was stupid and I was hungry, and, you know, I always felt like, you know, you got to step into the fire at some point. You might as well learn. So I did it, and, you know, I met him next week, and we played and was up near his house, and I screwed up every damn song. I was like, you know, I was kind of halfway there, and then I had blisters like, you know, the size of ping pong balls on the tips of my fingers. You know, I was used to playing electric bass. He'll tell you how that stuff happens. And at the end of the gig, I was like, I'm so sorry. He goes, no, man. He goes, the feeling's there, the timing's there, the knowledge isn't. He says, man, you got time? You doing anything now? This is 3 a.m. No, not really. He says, come on back to my place, man, and we'll have a couple beers, and I want to show you something. He took me to his place, and in the basement, he had thousands and thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of albums, 45s, 78s, cassettes, 8 tracks. Are you people even aware that there was 4 tracks at one point in time? That a 4-track player? He had 4-track players, and the 4 tracks they went with, all blues, all old blues, some jazz, some jump swing, some rockabilly, some country, but mostly just blues and everything. And half the shit was signed by guys. And then on the walls of his basement, hundreds and hundreds of posters by all the great bluesmen that you and I all love, signed. I'm like, who is this fucking dude? You know, I just met him. And he made me tapes that night. And he sent me home. He says, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. He says, I want you to play with me in 2 weeks. I came back 2 weeks later, I listened to everything he played. By the second song of the night, man, he kind of looked over at me and just winked at me. And I was like, that was so fucking, that just made me like, I got the wink, it was like the nod, like, yeah, you listened to what I gave you. And he said, he legitimized me. He you know, I'll be honest, man, this is not a sad, it's a story, and it's absolutely true. I lost 80% of my kidneys when I was like 18 years old. I was supposed to play football in college. I was a state-ranked wrestler, a state-ranked football player. I could have went to Division I colleges and played football. I had University of Illinois looking at me. I had Mitsu looking at me. I had Florida State looking at me. I lost 80% of my kidneys, and I said, I'll never play football, I'll never wrestle. And I had always loved music, and so I threw myself head first into music when I started feeling better. And this guy legitimized my choice and made me feel like what I was doing was right. And this guy, as I learned more about him, I realized how heavy he was. He was one of Little Brother Montgomery's best friends. He was one of Sunnyland Slim's best friend. He had toured the world with Jimmy Rogers. He had toured the world with Hip Link Chain. He had toured the world with everybody. His name was Barrel House Chuck. Are you guys familiar with Barrel House Chuck? He passed away a few years ago. And I was in his room when he took his last breath. And 2 nights before he passed away, my whole band was in the hospital room with him. This young man right here, he got to know Chuck really well in the last couple of years of his life. And Chuck befriended him too, and passed on a lot of knowledge to him. And I remember him looking at at Taylor in the room, and he said, hey, he goes, I gotta go, man. It's your turn. And it was a heavy moment, man. And I'll tell you what, man, he told me this story many years ago in the early 80s. He was hanging out with Little Brother Montgomery. And Little Brother Montgomery was like the forefather of Chicago blues piano. But if you called him a blues player, he'd probably slap you because he said I was a jazz player. But he used to hang around Brother, and he says, I got to go play a gig tonight, brother. I'll see you tomorrow. And he saw that Little Brother was kind of sad that he had to leave. And he says, you know what, man, I'm playing on Michigan Avenue. It's like a 2-hour gig. Why don't you come with me? And then, I'll bring you back home. Because Brother said, Michigan Avenue, I haven't been on Michigan Avenue since 1947. He said, you live in Chicago your whole life and you haven't been on Michigan Avenue since 1947? He says, come with me. So he took Brother with him to this gig. They got done at midnight, and they went walking up and down Michigan Avenue. And they stopped at the corner of Michigan and Adams. And Brother started looking around like this, and kind of got quiet for a minute. And Chuck says, you all right? You all right, brother? He says, yeah, Chuck, I was just thinking. It's the last time I stood on this corner, I have Fats Waller on the right and Louis Armstrong on the left. He said, Chuck, I walked with giants. And I love that story. I love that imagery. And knowing Chuck and the fellows that he played with in his lifetime, I wrote this song for him, and Taylor plays the shit out of it. We're gonna do it. It's called He Walked with Giants.